Hello, one and all, to the first ever Backyard Soccer AI World Cup. I'm your host, JR, and I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. Really hope that you guys enjoy this tournament. I want to first offer a special thanks to the RBBL server, Backyard Sports Center, and the DBSL community for all the interest and all of the support for this tournament. And I also want to say, if you're seeing this and you aren't a part of those communities, we would love to have you join us on the Discord. So this tournament, how will this tournament actually work? So this tournament is going to be run in a World Cup style tournament using the 20 teams that you would ordinarily find in the international tournament for the backyard soccer games. There will be a group stage where we're going to have four groups of five teams, and the top two from each group will advance to the knockout stage where there will be three rounds and we'll eventually crown a champion. That means they'll have 48 matches in total, so really excited about that. The game settings, the games will be played on a hard difficulty. The games will be long. We're going to have offsides off and fouls on. Um, and then I also want to make the note, so all the teams are going to be AI controlled. This is achieved by just making a single byte mutation in hex files. So anyone can do this for yourselves. Anyone can adjust the files to make the teams go at each other while both AI controlled. But that's what we're going to set things up for here. And each team in this tournament is going to employ the same offensive strategy. They're going to be running a 1-3-1 offense too, with the lone defender taking the kicks. Hopefully, that strategy will generate a lot of offense and generate a lot of excitement in this tournament. So now we're going to get to selection time. Again, there are four groups, and so we are going to go through each of the groups now and tell you which teams will be competing in each group. First off, we have Group A, which calls Hillside Glen home. As you can see, this is Hillside Glen, a very very nice field there. The first team in Group A are the Flying Zeppelins. The Flying Zeppelins are the team from Germany, and you can see the stats here for the Zeppelins. Looks like the best player by total balls is Vera Schnell. If I'm not mistaken, that is German for very fast. You see a good spread here. Off in terms of the starters, they got only one player that's below 30 total points. So really nice overall team. And in my notes there, I really don't see any clear weaknesses for this team. You see they've got the number three team in kicking, number seven in control, number four in both defense and running, and they're number one in total points. I have the Flying Zeppelins as clear contenders in this tournament. Would not be surprised at all to see them um, exit this tournament as champions. So they're your Flying Zeppelins, the first team in Group A. The second team in Group A is the Origami Tsunamis of Japan. The Tsunamis are perhaps the most interesting team stat wise in the tournament. You see, they are a team with extremely high aggressiveness. You see only one player on this team with aggressiveness below 90. They also have a really, really low stamina. You see, in terms of stamina, they have five out of their six starters. The lone starter that doesn't is the keeper. All the starters have stamina at 27 or below. So their starters are players that, while they may come out really aggressive and come out with guns blazing, they they will get tired quickly. And then to add to that, they're a team that has a weak bench. You see those bench players have total skill points of 15 and 14 respectively. So the Tsunamis are a team that they come out hot You can see them making a lot of noise, but there's also some severe downside with these tsunamis in terms of their stamina. You see, in terms of control and defense, they're number two and number three. So these tsunamis could certainly make some noise. But I think that there are some severe flaws with this team that keep me from looking at them as serious contenders, and that's why I've got them in the frisky tier. Also noting, I don't quite know exactly what the shooting stat does, but they do have zeros in shooting, all of them. So keep that in mind. And I also wanted to note that I thought it was kind of a missed opportunity that the Tsunamis were not a team that were like, all five height. I thought that would be kind of a neat little detail to make the Tsunamis, which are humongous waves, would have been a good idea to make them super tall. But I digress. Tsunamis are the number two team along with the Zeppelins. And the number three team in Group A are the Krusty Baguettes. The Krusty Baguettes, the team from France. Um, when I was looking at this, I was honestly a little bit disappointed with the stats of the Baguettes. I mean, France, as in real life, France has been to the last two World Cup finals, but it doesn't seem that the stats for the Baguettes quite reflect that success in real life. The Baguettes have kind of, they have a couple of decent players, but all in all, you don't see any players with running stats above 80. They have some decent kickers, decent kick accuracy, but all in all, I feel like this team isn't really one that I foresee making much noise. Really, their kicking stat and control. I mean, they're just kind of a middling across the board, and that's why I have them in the fraud tier. Hopefully, the Baguettes prove me wrong, but that's where I'm putting them. And then for Team Four in Group A, I've got the Los Ochos Maracas. This is a team from Mexico. And the Maracas are a team that will live and die by the fortunes of Yolanda Poco. Yolanda Poco, I recall, was a member of my very first DBSL team, Humongous United. So good throwback there. Yolanda with the 100 speed, 76 stamina, and really good kicking stats. Yolanda can certainly make some noise for this team, but I don't know if the rest of the maracas are going to be able to carry to help out. They have even less speed than the baguettes that I showed before, and they do have some strong kickers. But I mean, all in all, I think that the maracas aren't really poised to make a lot of noise unless Yolanda Poco does a lot of damage. So I'm kind of looking at the Los Ocho Maracos, and the maracas are in the fraud tier for me. And then the final team in Group A I have as the Feisty Tigers. The Tigers have a lot of things that they don't do very well, but they do one thing well, and that thing is run. And as you can see in terms of running, this team has great stamina and great speed. They got all the starters have 95 speed or above. You see the running stat; all of them have nines in running. All those starters. So yeah, they're the number two team in running. The Feisty Tigers, they are just a well-oiled machine in terms of running, but they lack in other stats. And so my note here is how far can pure unadulterated speed take you? And that's what we're going to find out with the Feisty Tigers. They were my team in the first DBSL tournament. So they're a very fun team to have. The Feisty Tigers from South Korea. Um, and I also noticed, if you take Woo Park, who is great at running and great kicking, with 91 and 92 kick power and accuracy, you take him and you combine him with Eugen O. I thought that would be quite a player if you merge those two stats together. But the Feisty Tigers round us out, and I put them in the frisky tier because I think that they don't do very well in terms of kicking control and defense, but I think that their running stat. I think combined with their aggressiveness stat, I think the Feisty Tigers could really make some noise. So I wouldn't count them out, even though they're the number 18 team in terms of total points. I don't really think you want to count the Tigers out because I think they can really really pull something off here with this running stat. You do not want to count these Tigers out. So here is Group A. You see these how the stats line up. You see the Zeppelins are the top team in total points, and generally across the board, the Zeppelins appear to be the superior team, and that's why I've got the Zeppelins as a clear number one, as a clear champion from this group. But I did want to throw a little monkey wrench in there, and I'm taking the Feisty Tigers to take the runner up, and they're going to make it out of the of Group A, even though they're the technically the bottom team in this group by the total skill points. I think that running stat can really turn their fortunes and get the Tigers through. I think I've got the number three team here as the Origami Tsunamis. They're an exciting team with their unique stat spreads, and then I have the Baguettes and the Maracas lining out Group A. So that's how I have that group finishing up. Next, we have Group B. In Group B, I have they will be playing their matches at Glenmore Ridge High. That is where Glenmore. That's what the field looks like there. So the first team in Group B, the Festive Piranhas. The Festive Piranhas come from Brazil, and they are another team like the Zeppelins with no clear weaknesses. This is a team that has a lot of running stat. They're the number one running team, but they also control the ball well. They're number one in the control stat too. Um, if there is a weakness here, kicking is maybe a weakness for them. Defense, we don't really quite know what that does. So, if they're not going to be very good at defense, that's maybe not a huge deal. But I think all in all, this Piranhas team is really a team that you really can't go wrong picking them. I think they have an opportunity to go really far in this tournament, especially the passing stat. I mean, goodness, that passing stat's really nice. The team two for Group B, I have as the Magical Dragons from England. The Magical Dragons, they have a decent stat spread across the board. You see, they got Rose Coffee, Liam Wallace, and Candace Wallace each have 31 total skill points. Um, I think this is a team that can make a lot of noise. Decent amount of noise, but all in all, I don't really think they have any true studs on this roster. Andrea Nolan, of course, is a player we know well from my last DBSL season with my Red Hot Llamas. But I think this team does kind of have a weak bench with Owen Lyons and Corey Miller. They don't really seem like they're going to do a ton there. But yeah, I think the Dragons could do okay. I think they could do well in this group. But all in all, I'm not looking to them to make any big noise. I feel like they are certainly a tier down from the Piranhas that we saw earlier. In terms of Team Three, I have the Funky Pharaohs that come from Egypt. The Pharaohs are an interesting team. They don't really excel at much, but what they do excel at is endurance. Holy endurance, Batman. The Pharaohs are a fun team in that respect. They probably want to force long periods without a stoppage that would tire out other teams while they remain still with plenty of stamina. They endure through that. And I did want to note that the Pharaohs have their best player at keeper, which is certainly not ideal. You kind of want your best player to be in the field somewhere. So that's certainly not an ideal configuration for them. That they're decent at defense. Their running stat is pretty much all wrapped up in stamina. I have the Pharaohs in the fraud tier. I think they're going to have to pull off some upsets to really go far in this tournament. For Team Four in Group B, I have the Fancy Pandas, and it's tough to say some nice things about the Fancy Pandas. Um, my notes. I think I was being a little cheeky when I made these notes. I said I'll be shocked if this team wins a match, and then I've seen better teams in B division. I think it would be a little cheeky when I wrote this. Um, I think if I was gonna pick out a player that I think is the best player, I think Fuchu would probably be the best player on these Pandas with that 82 running. The problem is I don't know if these. I mean, so Fuchu would be I think that would make him a winger. Um, I don't know. Maybe maybe the Pandas will surprise me. I don't know. But I think the Pandas are pretty clearly in the basement tier here, and unfortunately, I don't really foresee them going far. But maybe they'll pull off some upsets and prove me wrong. That's why we play the games. Am I right? For Team 5, I have the North Polars from Canada, our northern neighbors. Um, so the Pandas are a fun team. Um, again, I think I was also being cheeky when I wrote this. I said this team runs like they're frozen in blocks of ice um, because they struggle. They struggle to run. Um, of course, they have their two. They have their two runners would be Prochaska and Kohlberg. Um, and what I wrote here is that the Polars will only go as far as Ice and Berg will take them. They're two players. Clearly, the best by total skill points are Jan Ice and Kohlberg. And I've put I put the portrait for Jan Ice over there because she is she's has that unique generic look. I had the oxymoron there. The unique generic look of the icy silver hair. Um, you see that in the Soccer '98. So so it was really nice to see that, and hope the Polars can go far. But I don't really foresee that. I think they're clearly a tier below, and I've placed them in the fraud tier for now. But hopefully they're able to prove me wrong because the Polars are a fun team, fun colors, and so would be nice to see the Polars pull something off. So that rounds out Group B. Here are the teams for that. For Group B, I've got this division going with the Piranhas as the clear champ. I've got the Dragons as the runner-ups, and then I've got the North Polars as the three, just missing the knockout round, and the Pharaohs and the Pandas as the 4 and 5, bringing up the rear of the group. Halfway home. Next, we have Group C. And Group C will play their matches at Slothview High. That's what Slothview looks like. Nice little basketball court over there. Maybe they used it for backyard basketball. I don't know. But that's what Slothview looks like. The first team in Group C are the goal scoring Gauchos that come from Argentina. The Gauchos are a nice, fun team. I like their colors. Looks a lot like oyster colors. Um, they have the best player in the game. They have Marilena Del Val, who has 34 total skill points, the most points of any player in the game. She's very, very good. I was kind of not impressed with the rest of the team. They're a team of technicians. They kick well and they control well. But other than that, they're just kind of meh in terms of speed and running. Like I said, the most apparent flaw is the lack of speed outside of Marilena. So you could think of Marilena as Maradona. Get the ball to Maradona. Maybe that's going to be the mantra for the Gauchos here. Again, this is a team that has the stat spread of a contender, so I can see them going really far. Um, but yeah, I think they could really make some noise. Just have to maybe overcome a little bit of a speed deficit relative to those other contenders. But the Gauchos are certainly a fun one. In Group C, we have Team Two. We have the KGBs that come from Russia. The bees are a better team than I expected that they would be. Um, but honestly, what I was struck by is that they they have their fastest players are on their bench. Karpin with a 93 running and Zlotnick with 88. I was surprised to see them coming off the bench because I thought they would have been nice as starters. Yeah, Yuri Zubko with the 76 running, but he's got the eights across the board, and Radchenko, um, also decent spread. So all in all, the bees are pretty good across the board. They can kick, they can control the ball. They got a good defense stat. If you had one flaw, it'd be their running and the fact that they have that their subs should be starters. Um, and the fact that those starters have such good stamina may keep those subs off the field when they should be on the field. So that was kind of the one flaw that I saw with the bees. Maybe the Frisky tier is not good enough for these bees, but I think that there are some severe flaws in maybe the allocation of these players. But uh, certainly doesn't preclude the bees from going far. We'll see what happens with them. For team three, I have the Brick Wallabies. They come from the land down under in Australia. The Wallabies, they don't really excel in one stat over the other. They're kind of like you look at there, the number 14, 14, 16, 14. They're just kind of in that zone. They do have some deceptively strong kickers. You see those kickers, 100, 88, 91, 89, 89. So they got some strong kickers in terms of kick power. Their accuracy it just kind of is lacking, and that's why their kicking stat is so low, is because their accuracy is driving that down. I think that the Wallabies could pull something off. I think we we see some decent runners. Unfortunately, Cynthia Boyce with the 11 stamina kind of nullifies her 91 running. The Wallabies, I have them in the fraud tier, but maybe they'll make some noise. And lastly, I did want to point out that it was a missed opportunity by the devs to make the Brick Wallabies, a brick wall of a defensive team. Wish they had done that. Alas, this is what we have with the Wallabies, and hopefully they'll do well. Next, for Team 4 in Group C, we have the Potto Goals that come from Ireland. When I was looking at them, I wasn't really impressed by their stats. They didn't really excel at much. Patrick Harden seems to be their best player, which they'll luckily have him up top, so he should be nice to have there. I also noticed that the goals seem to be pretty good at heading. They have headers that are, their field playing starters are heading between 83 to 97. Have absolutely no idea if they'll be able to even use that skill. Don't really know if the AI is going to be like, oh yeah, I've got a good heading team, so I'm going to try and pull some headers off. Don't know if that's even going to happen, but maybe they will. Um, but yeah, I think the O goals I have them in the fraud tier. They'll have to pull off some upsets, I think, to really make some noise in this tournament. And lastly, for Team 5 in Group C, I have the Dandy Lion Cubs. I got to be honest, I did not think the Lion Cubs were like that. But I think the Lion Cubs are are a very, very dangerous team. Um, they kick well, they control well, they run well. The only stat that they are lacking in is the defense stat. And you know what? What does the defense stat even do anyway? We don't even know what that does. So I was like, you know what? The Lion Cubs seem like a team that I want to hitch my wagon to. They've got some really nice runners. They can kick well, decently well. They have decent aggression. At least certainly coming off the bench. Um, I think that the Lion Cubs, I think they're a contender. I did not think that the Lion Cubs from the country of Cameroon did not think they would be that I'd be putting them as a contender when I started typing this up. But I think the Lion Cubs, I think the Lion Cubs are a contender, and I think that they're a team that you do not want to have in your group. And here's for Group C. Pretty decent top three there. Pretty clearly there by the stats. And maybe a surprise, but I have the Lion Cubs uh, being the champs coming out of Group C. I have the goal scoring Gauchos as the runner up. The KGBs, the Pato Goals, and the Wallabies are the 3, 4, and 5 for this group. All right, one more group here. We have Group D. The Group D plays at Barronshire Prep. Team 1 in Group D is the Garlicky Gladiators. They come from the country of Italy. And I have the Gladiators as clear contenders. I thought a lot of their stats kind of reminded me of they reminded me of the Lion Cubs that we just saw before. Um, they run really well, kicking in control. They actually don't even do as good as the Lion Cubs. Um, I noticed that the Gladiators have three strong kickers in Constantino, Villaggio, and Mora, but the rest are kind of eh. You definitely want to have the kickers, your shot takers, be one of those three. But otherwise, I thought the Garlic Gladiators are a pretty strong team. Certainly a drop off when you get into the subs there, but I think they have the stamina to be able to withstand that. And I think certainly the Gladiators are the contenders here for this tournament. For Team Two, we have the Whirling Windmills that come from Netherlands. Um, I wrote here it's a shame that Juliana Tobiasen does not play the field because she's a 32 stat. And I also wrote that Um, Dean DeBoer at center mid is going to be a problem. Uh, Player four is going to be the center mid for every roster. And Dean DeBoer is not the best player on his team, so that could be a problem. All in all, I think the Windmills they have a good stat spread. Frisky tier I'd say that they'd probably be near the front of that frisky tier certainly, but I don't think it'd be consistent to put them in the same tier as the Gladiators, for instance, or any of the other contenders that I've identified in this show. So the Windmills that come from Netherlands, I think they're a fun team, but I think they're in the frisky tier. They can certainly surprise some people, but I don't think they quite had the firepower like the other contenders that we've shown to this point. Team three in Group D are the Dancing Papagayos. They come from the country of Colombia. The Papagayos are a fun team. They were the team that won the first DBSL tournament managed by Herb Fletcher, and uh, the Papagayos are a team that can kick really really well. They're tied for number one with eight median kicking. So they're really good in that department. Um, I did notice that offensively they kind of are lacking the top end speed. Um, they do have a 100 speed player on the roster, but interestingly, that player Frank Dominguez is on defense. Frank Dominguez is going to be the defender for the Papagayos, and so I was thinking maybe that if with all these good kickers that the Papagayos have, if the Papagayos are able to sneak a couple goals in, then maybe having Frank on defense could actually be really really smart. They sneak some goals in, and then Frank prevents anything from going on the defensive side. Papagayos may be able to steal some wins. I also did notice that this keeper has a really bad control stat, and as we've seen before in some of the AI games before, when Pete Wheeler was in goal, um, having keepers with low control, they're liable to score own goals on themselves. So I identify the Papagayos as maybe that they could be in danger of allowing some own goals. So that can end up being something that rears its ugly head. But I like the Papagayos in the frisky tier. I don't think they're a team you really want to have in your group because they really could be annoying. They could force you into some draws or maybe even sneak a loss your way. So Papagayos are certainly a dangerous team to have in your group. A team that's probably not as dangerous are the Red Hot Llamas. Here they are. They're the Red Hot Llamas. They come from Peru. And sadly, Even though the Red Hot Llamas are the team that I managed in the season three for the DBSL, I do have them in the basement tier. The Llamas have eagle eyes. You know, their eye stat is really, really good. They are hyper aggressive. You see that aggression stat, and they're also lethal with the headers. You see all these nice green on the spreadsheet. But the problem is, would those stats be anything that would move the needle for the Llamas? I don't think it will. The Llamas are clearly in the basement tier along with the Fancy Pandas. Um, I would love to see the Red Hot Llamas pull off some upsets, but I just don't know if it's in the cards. If in any case, the Llamas will certainly be out there and try their hardest with that, with all that aggression, with all those headers, and with all that eye stat. They're going to give it all they got, and that is something that we should applaud. Also, want to shout out to El Monito, the little monkey. Um, no, I just love that name. I think it's great. And Macarena Lima in as the keeper. That's great. All right, Team Five, and the final revealed team for the tournament are Los Toritos, the Little Bulls from Spain. The Bulls are the Toritos are they have a strong roster overall. You see a couple of you know S tier players in Guadalupe. With his running, kicking's not that great for him. But you got Salma Vasquez, a G Schlim favorite, with the 100 running. And also some fun team name some fun player names here with you got Geronimo, you got Chichi Fuego, Juan Dineros, and Sonia Siesta. A lot of fun team names on this roster, and they're a fun team statistically too. They're a team I think they're a contender. I think they're a team that could make some noise and could go really far. Um, you just got to make sure that they have the right players kicking the ball because their kicking stat is not that great. Um, you just got to make sure you want Antonio Carlos taking kicks. Uh, Chichi can work. Salma's got a great kick accuracy, but so as long as she's got the leg to get it there. But I think that the Toritos are a fun team and they can really make some noise. Certainly a team you'd want to side with. All right, and so for Group D, I've identified Group D as a group of death. I think that this, you see clearly you've got four teams with a median total balls of 28 or above. I think that this is a team, this is a group that I could see going a lot of ways. Um, I've got the Gladiators and the Toritos as the two contenders in this group, so I had to put them 1-2. But I would not be surprised to see the Windmills or the Papagayos jump up, and advance from this group. And then I've got the Llamas in last place again. Llamas are fun, but I just don't really see them being able to pull off much in the way of upsets. So I've now to this point I've given my predictions for each of the groups. So now I'm going to take each of the top two the top twos that I've given from each division, and I'm going to show you what I've got the knockout bracket as knockout round predictions. Here we go. So as the one seed in Group A, I've got the Flying Zeppelins with the Los Toritos that advancing from Group D in the two spot. Flying Zeppelins versus Toritos. I have the Flying Zeppelins advancing. Have the Piranhas advancing over the goal scoring Gauchos from Group C. I've got the Dandy Lion Cubs advancing over the Dragons and the Gladiators advancing over the Tigers. So unfortunately, I do have I do have all the one seeds advancing out of round one. I think that if I had to pick a game that would be the closest and the game that won't be very close, I think that the top two games, the Zeppelins, Toritos, and Piranhas, Gauchos, I think those will be more competitive than the bottom two games of Lion Cubs, Dragons, and Gladiators, Tigers. Maybe that won't come to be true, but I think that's how I would have it. And then moving on to the semifinal round, I've got the Piranhas taking care of business against the Flying Zeppelins, and I have the Gladiators taking care of business on the Lion Cubs, setting up a final match between the Piranhas and the Gladiators. That's going to be a fun matchup if it happens. But I have the Festive Piranhas taking down the Gladiators and having them as the AI World Cup champion. And then I forgot to put the consolation match on here, but I think that if the Zeppelins and the Lion Cubs match up, I think I have the Zeppelins beating them. So that's what I have the bracket as. Those are my predictions, my expert in quotes predictions. Um, Fully prepared for those predictions to not come to pass, but really excited about that. And thank you all for watching the Backyard Soccer World Cup selection show. Hope you guys will make some predictions of your own, and I hope you guys will tune in for the matches coming out in about a week. Stay tuned to the Backyard Sports Center YouTube feed for those, and I hope you guys will follow along. Thanks so much for your attention, and hope to see you guys in the next one.